Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? Who Am I? My little show where we ask questions about who we are as human beings. What does it mean to be a human being? How does this work? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? What does it take to be successful here? What is successful? What does success look like? What's the object of the exercise? What's the meaning of the equipment? What's the rules of the game? Who am I? What the heck is going on here? Life, when you don't understand what it is, or you don't have faith in the process and you aren't just relaxing into it, life can be pretty challenging. And I know that there are people out there who are experiencing challenges all the time, as am I. I mean, it's challenging to be here. Trying to figure out who you are and what you're supposed to be doing with your life and what's the truth about God and the rules of the universe. What does it take? What does being good, I'm air quoting good, what does that mean? What who am I? That's all. That's all. We ask it all the time. We don't think that it actually is understood. Like, we've got this, and now we're just operating on this thing that we really understand. It doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like we know who we are. Because publicly and collectively, the general self of us doesn't seem to get it. Otherwise, we wouldn't still have militaries and wars, and we wouldn't have the problems that we have. We would be, interacting smoothly and synchronistically with each other. It's not the way it works. So, what is a body supposed to do with this? And I'll tell you, I do ask the question, who am I, in reference to something. And I actually do have a physical agenda. I'm not just sitting here going, who am I? What are we going to do? No. Or shaking my finger saying, this is how it is, this is who you are, and this is how it works, and so this is what you should be doing. Nothing like that. I don't know what you should be doing. And as a matter of fact, that's the challenge. Each and every one of us, from our specific position on the grid, has to find our own way. Has to tune ourselves into the reference, the impulse. There is a plug. You plug your plug into a particular place in the consciousness. I don't know how to tell you where it is in you, but it's an I am place. It's a place where you say, I am, and fill in the blank. And if the answer to I am, fill in the blank, lands in the material world, so you're saying things like, I am a person, and I am born at this time, and physically I'm banging around this way. If your answer is all references to the physical, you are more precariously balanced than if your answer to that I am question is more formless. Because there's two aspects to this universe. It's form and formless. And when we identify with the formless, we're way easier about the forms changing. When you identify with the form, then all of a sudden it becomes part of your identity to make sure that that form stays there. And unless you're dialed into exactly what I'm talking about, you may not understand what I'm saying. So let's just Let's back up a little bit and let's come back at this. The show is Who Am I? And we ask this most humbly, most humbly. And we answer it every which way we can. And we feel our answers. And we're going to try to move ourselves forward on the grid. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? How do I figure that out? What am I made of? How does it operate? And then we can branch off into the other questions of where might I have come from? You know? Because there might be an answer to that. I mean, yes, we were happily and naturally evolving on this planet for millions and billions of years, along with everything else on the planet. And I think that some 200,000 years ago, somebody gave us a little boost. Somebody tweaked our anatomy just a little bit. We got genetically modified. We have a couple of tweaks on. I know of one, and although I can't prove that this is twiddling from without, as opposed to just a natural thing that happened, I can't prove that the fusion on chromosome number 2 is intentionally done. And I'm not a geneticist, and I wouldn't have even thought about this, except Greg Braden kind of pointed us all this direction. He pointed us all this direction with this slide. So I got these two slides that I took from a couple of seminars I did with Greg Braden. I've done 4 with him, 1 with just him, 2 with him and Bruce Lipton, and 1 with a big group of people, bunch of other presenters, Anita Morjani and Joe Dispenza was there. It was a good seminar. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is part of his presentation, Greg's, and he talks about the neocortex because he talks about the specialness of being human. That we are special. We are very special. And we need to understand our special. We need to own our special. And we need to not gloat over the rest of the biofield because we're not more blessed than them, but somebody has given us a capability that we might as well understand, lean into, exploit even. Certainly use it to understand where we've been going awry with ourselves and the world. So here, this slide about the neocortex and how it's sort of the overview mind and what it is in charge of: logic and analysis, rational thought, control of your emotions, because it's an overview of your emotions. You have your emotions, they pinged off something in the environment that you were uncomfortable about. That's not a problem. You're allowed to not like what you don't like. You're allowed to have that negative emotion, that feeling about it. I don't like that. However, your overview position, the one that's talking about the value of things and the meaning of it all, that one should not be influenced by negative emotion. You need to have this overview mind that can get past the knee-jerk response to the I don't like that condition thing. So that's what your neocortex is. And the interesting thing is, and this is what Greg pointed us to, he talks about human chromosome number 2, and this is another one of Greg's slides. You can see his little face up in the upper right corner. I think that this was while he was presenting this. He's up there in the corner talking. You could see him up there even though he was also standing in front of us talking. I can't remember. He's got cool technology. I'm not much of a technology person. So I've been focusing on content. Not at all on marketing. Not at all on search engine optimization or anything like that. Visibility and head counts of people in the room and what are they saying and all that. I've just been focusing on figuring out what it is that I have to say, what it is that I have to add to this magnificent equation we've got going on. Because every one of us has something really special to add to this. Truly, we do. And so I've been working for the last year on figuring out what it is that I know that I want to share, that makes me feel good to share, that I naturally fall into a space where I can just riff without chore, what do I want to do, as well as what do I have to contribute to the conversation, what do I know to add into this that really would help the situation, I'm out here on the leading edge. And actually, when Abraham says that, she means that we're all here. Because that's what physicality is. To be in a physical body, banging around in a physical life. Actually getting dirty and bloody and muddy out here in the trenches is an important part of it's actually, what is it? I think we've still got a lot to learn here on planet Earth. We won't have learned them until we just relax and put the guns down, the bombs down. I mean, for real, for serious, because that's us not understanding how the equipment works. When we just let that momentum start from wherever that started, beginning of last century, I suppose. I don't know if that's exactly where I'm air quoting, started. What does started mean? Started. Anyway, back to this. Human chromosome number 2 is responsible for a large part of that volume of our neocortex, that overview mind that we have. A lot of the configuration of that, the volume of it, is coming from human chromosome number 2, which appears to be a fused chromosome. Fused in a really fishy looking way to me. It's fishy looking to me. Now, I'm not a geneticist. I can only look at this from a layman's perspective and go, look at that, look at that. So human chromosome number 2 is fused. It's 2 smaller chromosomes fused together, telomere to telomere, and then something that has stabilized that fusion is somehow on both sides of this fusion redundancies clipped away. This redundancy over here and that redundancy over there. And so now this chromosome needs to be held together in this double. They don't operate independently anymore. They need to stay fused. So it's like modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. That's how Greg puts it. So anyway, you can see what he's pointing me towards. The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Volume 88, pages 9051 and 9055, published October 1991. And actually, when you go to look that up, it's actually quite simple. PNAS.org turns out to be the site. And it's open source, and you don't have to sign up for anything, and you don't have to pay anything, and you can just go look at it. It's open source, where our National Academy of Sciences, where they publish their work to one another, where the different disciplines publish, the geneticists publish to other geneticists and such. Now, it wasn't as easy to find, because although you can see this is the pages, the articles are not listed by page number. They're just listed one after the other after the other. This turned out to be the 40th article in, and I had to read the titles of every one of them going in. It was easy to find this volume, October 15th, 1991. 2 volumes came out that year. 1 came out earlier that year. April, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. 40th one in, here it is. Origin of Human Chromosome number 2. an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion. So these geneticists have studied this. Studied it as in they sequenced it out, and they're looking at the two sides of the, and they conclude, this is what they conclude. This is the full abstract coming up. Here it is, full abstract. I couldn't get that and the title in the same page on my computer to get this, to Snipping Tool screenshot this. So I had to just do it this way. Two slides. Here we go, down at the bottom. We conclude that blah, 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 is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Now I find that really interesting. This is like, I see it as, and I don't know how come, I don't know why it wouldn't be this. It looks to me like this is the missing link. We're not going to find it in a pile of bones out there on a digging site because it doesn't exist out there. This is where we changed. We didn't change over a long period of time. Naturally, where our dead bodies are going to be strewn around the planet for, whatever, showing how we developed slowly from our ape ancestors into the human being that we are now. This is what made us anatomically modern humans. Now, maybe I'm making jumps here, but this seems kind of fishy to me. Now, I don't base everything that I think from, this is the house of cards, that the whole thing is based on. It just fits with a lot of other information that we know too. The way that human beings kind of have a hard time getting along on planet Earth. We are not creating abundance. We are creating scarcity. That's not natural. That actually is not natural. And so there's something about us that does that, whereas other beings don't do that, or they don't usually do that. I suppose they could, thoughtless, mindless, whatever. I don't know, but they don't. They don't. Over time, ones that do that die out. If you are a scarcity creator, then you're not going to end up with a species that's dancing in abundance, are you? You're going to have a species that is dancing in scarcity. Or crying in scarcity, not dancing anymore. So what are we talking about here? What did this... Let's finish this thought before we go on to another one, because I'm sitting over here in this place kind of implying that 200,000 years ago somebody might have genetically modified us. I also have heard it put out there that it was from somebody who acted like they knew this was true. Whether I believe that they know it and whether I'm going to believe that this is true or not, I don't know. But this also makes sense. That these people did it to us, and it wasn't actually, they shouldn't have done it. I mean, they shouldn't have done it in the sense that it was against their own rules. It was against their prime directive, because there is a prime directive. We are heading for being galactic beings. We are heading for outer space. We absolutely are. Is it going to be in my lifetime? Well, I'm getting a little older, so we would have to start pretty soon. You might say, oh, but we've already started. We've got this space program out there. This is where I'm not sure exactly how to pull together where what my heart is saying is important about this. But there is something really important about this, and the fact that my own husband works in the current space industry, and I'm going to be saying things like, I think that our current public space program is a travesty and an obfuscation. It's a dog and pony show. It's not the action. It's not the edge of technology. It's last century's technology. As a matter of fact, my husband, who made his whole career out of launching rockets for the United States Air Force, did so by selling people 50 and 60-year-old rocket motors that the Air Force has laying around from back in the day. They're rocket motors that from the old Peacekeeper and what are the other rocket motors? Old rocket technology that came from the Second World War, right? And the reason that they do this is because, hey, if we sell you our rocket motor, our old rocket motor that's just is already paid for and it's sitting over there in some whatever, then I can save you a few $1,000,000 on your launch, you customer who want to put whatever it is you want to put into outer space. Some sort of scientific test, or maybe a satellite, or. And I have come to believe that this public show of technology that we do is not actually where we're going, not helpful, not where we need to be. Our whole alignment of thought that we have semi-agreed upon as a collective being, I completely disagree with. And I would like to bring us back to, let's keep asking this question of who am I? I'm not accepting where we have landed. What am I saying? What am I saying? Well, this brings me to my links list, and this is a big problem with my show because my links list is sitting right there in the description of my show, and instead of the description of my show ought to be there, right? And so maybe I won't put this in my links list, but sitting here in the middle of the body of the show, you can't click on any of these things. But you can see what I want you to watch. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. You can just go to YouTube into the search bar and put that and it'll come up. It's a movie. And then The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. That's a video, and it's the first episode of a 12-part series you're going to find over on Gaia called Quantum Revolution, as it talks about how the mathematics of the quantum world and the cosmological world have been reconciled. And whether you are up to date on this, whether you realize that it has happened, because frankly Brian Cox and his ilk are probably not over there singing this truth to the rafters. They're probably, along with Sheldon Cooper, are still trying to find how the quantum world and the cosmological world connects. But the mathematics has been done, and Nassim Haramein published this first paper back in 2012, actually. He published a more recent one last September called The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. And that one, there's a video that I've put in here, Origin of Mass, Nature of Gravity, and it is the YouTube video that explains the paper, and I also put a link to the paper. But if I don't put this in the description of my video and instead put a description of my video into my video, then I've got to embed these somewhere else. And you know what? It's been building on me for a long time. I need to go figure out how to do that. Maybe that's my task today. How do I share these videos with you without putting my links list into the description of my video? Because now I can put an actual description of my video, and then maybe when people are trying to find me, they could. Who am I? Who am I? That's what needs to be in the description of my video. A discussion of humanity. Who are we as humanity with a capital H, mankind with a capital M? How did we get here? Where are we going? How does our technology function? And how does my understanding of these things help me, little me, individual me, find my way? What is my way? Well, you gotta lock into what you want. You're getting your impulses from source about what to do through impulses based on your desire. What do I want to do? What do I want to see done? What do I want to have happen? What do I want? How can I make this better? What would I like? What is my preferences? You know, all of that. The connected universe, that's another one in here. That is also, these are all YouTube videos. So since I know you know how to connect to YouTube, because otherwise you're not listening to me, because that's where I am. Just go to these places, go to the search bar and click this in, because this video will not have it in the description. I'm going to put something else in the description today. I don't know what I'm going to put, but I have the impulse to put something else. I know that it's one of the ways that people are not finding me, is that my description of my video is not a description of my video. It's a links list, a playlist, so that you can go find the stuff I want you to watch that is what I'm talking about in this show. And especially The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, because it is claiming some pretty wild shit. And I believe it, actually. I do believe it. Now, some of the stuff about the extraterrestrials, it's not that I don't believe about the extraterrestrials, and I do believe it. And I do believe that the reason that they keep obfuscating about it, and that it isn't an honest discussion amongst us, and it has been kind of kept secret, although it's kind of getting to be more of an open secret, and I don't even know if it's a secret now. It's just a question of, do you believe it or not? And if you don't believe it, then where are we? But in the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, there's some places where I think they're trying to make it stronger. They show a bunch of video clips that I think they're constructed. It's somebody's representation of the extraterrestrials. It almost looks like they're trying to put it forward as though it's real footage of the videos of the UFOs, but the real footage of the UFOs are much more like the stuff like the military gets, you know, on the radar blips and on the. It's not the full. Anyway, I don't think that the movie helps itself, because it is saying some stuff that's pretty outlandish. But about our society, the world that we walk around in, with the energy systems and the communication systems and the media systems, our media, our news and such, that is supposed to be telling us the latest stuff, you know, and then whether or not our marketplace, our free market and our free press and our, you know, all that, it's all a bunk. It's all a construct, because they have been hiding something from us, because they are protecting literally hundreds of trillions of dollars of economic activity that they will control if they keep us working on the fossil fuel paradigm. And we need to understand this, and we need to get off of this, because that is the part of our behavior that is so incredibly, it's the most destructive aspect of our behavior. Comes from us not understanding source energy. And so that's why we do this show, to ask the question, who am I? Who am I in reference to this source energy? And who am I in this quantum field that I abide in, am embedded in? How does it function? This connected matrix of energy and motion and coming into being, this world of flux, this manifestation, this rolling manifestation that I have been hurled headlong into, and I've got to make my way. I was handed a religion when I was younger that I could see holes, logic holes in it from early on. And so at a young age, I was 14 when I did this. I removed from my consciousness the lens of my mother religion. And it was a painful time for me to do that. Actually, you're an adolescent and you don't know the meaning of the world anyway. You're afraid now the devil's going to come and get you. You know, I am, what is the meaning of life? And now I'm off into the outer reaches. I am lost, perhaps. What happens if they're right? If this was right and I have just removed this, then what is going to become of me? Well, what became of me is that I walked around through life with a very open mind. Now, I also had no real ambition. I didn't have any direction in my life, and my parents divorced and scattered. All of my 4 older siblings also scattered. They married and left. All except my oldest sister, who married and stayed and allowed me to live with her. I lived with her for 5 years or so in my young adulthood, after post 18 years old, post 19 years old, as a matter of fact, when after my father, he got married and moved away. My parents divorced, my mother, anyway. So I had no direction, and I had no religion anymore. I had no real sense of where my people were going or where I should be going. What I did have a sense of, because I was raised by people who came from the Great Depression and a father who fought in World War II. And I was very affected by the activities of the world during the Depression and during the World Wars. The early part of the 20th century, my parents were greatly affected by it, and I found myself thinking about it a lot. And wondering, well, I'll tell you what I came to conclude was that my forefathers, my elders, did not know what the F they were doing. And that's why they plunged us into World War II and World War I. And I didn't really see that we had learned any big lessons about it. You know, we were continuing on the same trajectory. I could see that ecologically speaking, we were running afoul. In my 20s, that was the 80s. And during the 80s was when a lot of things started to shift in the world around us. Multinational corporations started looming, squatting huge across the national borders, you know, and became the new force were these multinational commercial enterprises that controlled everything from our energy and the pharmaceutical, the medical model. I discovered at this time the horrors of vivisection, and that vivisection was still a viable. We hadn't outlawed it as you know, Mengele level nonsense, you know, spiritually bereft hokum. We hadn't discarded it yet. For all I know, we're still vivisecting in the labs. It was a $7 billion industry in the 80s, and $7 billion was a lot of money back in the 80s. But the trade of the lab animals and the torture equipment and all of that crap, you know, just horrors. And when I realized that that was largely at the basis of the pharmaceutical industry and the medical models in general, that all of this sacrificing of animals through the vivisection model, you know, testing whatever we're doing on animals before we're legally then not responsible if something turns out to hurt somebody. You've got some legal recourse. Well, I did all the prerequisite animal testing or whatever. Do you know who started a lot of that? Do you know who set a lot of that into play, into motion? It was John D. Rockefeller. He was thought to be such a philanthropist, you know, working with medical colleges and pharmaceutical blah, 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 blah. Well, he set a lot of that crap up. And it's all an illegal thing in order, so if the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, if they perform X number of tests on animals beforehand and that turns out to be safe enough, then you go on to the next level, the next phase, which is then you start testing it on human beings. And if then that turns out all right, then anyway, and it's all legal shit. Anyway, I was discovering this in my 20s, and I was becoming very disillusioned by the world around me, you know? Our food model was changing too. Big Ag was taking over all the family farms. That's why Farm Aid, that big, that right after Live Aid, which was supposed to collect money to help poverty or world hunger or something like that, and then right after that they did Farm Aid, which was to help family farms hold on to their family farms, because what was happening was Big Ag, Monsanto, and whoever the Big Ag corporation. I could go into the details, but Big Ag is behind. And it has changed the spirit of the way we grow our food. And we have things like, I'm not even sure, Roundup and genetically modified crops and all kinds of stuff. That hadn't started yet. But I could feel the spirit of the world shifting in a way that did not feel right to me, and it still does not feel right to me. And I never believed that collectively we were on a course. And you know what? Bruce Lipton tells us now that we are on a course of extinction. Sixth mass extinction of biology on planet Earth underway right now. We're already living in a 10% world. 10% of the whales we used to have, 10% of the elephants we used to have, 10% of the insects we used to have, 10%. And we go out in the world and, in our optimism, we go out into a beautiful world because there's still plants and stuff, and there's plenty of lovely things still to lock onto. We lock onto that, and we see a squirrel or a robin, and we go, oh, isn't the world beautiful? But you know what? We're not seeing what we're killing. We're still losing it. And until somebody gives me the news that the sixth mass extinction has reversed itself and that we are now on course for, sustainability and survival, until I get that news, I'm not going to rest completely easy with this. I'm not going to go along with the patterns that we've got in play right now because they aren't sustainable yet. And so who do I assign this? What happens with evolution when we get into points of stress? What evolution does is it throws out it throws everything at the wall, because we got to find something that sticks. And so I think that's why I'm feeling this impulse to do this show, to do this thing that I do every day. Ask the question, who am I? Instead of just assuming that, hey, we got it. Although there is a place for faith. Faith in the process, faith in the world, faith in it all turning out okay, faith in everything. Everything's always working out for me. Faith in a resistance-free place. And there is a place for that lack of resistance. It is okay. It is okay, and we are going to be okay. But I think it will help us to be okay more easily, more smoothly, more quickly, if we would understand who we are and lean into it and flow gently downstream with it. So yesterday I had a bit of an issue with my own emotions. Now I sit here all the time, all day, every day, and I tell you the meaning of your own emotions, has to do with your configuration, your binary configuration. You are a source mind, and your source self is thinking thoughts, thinking big thoughts, thinking thoughts about reality around you, thinking joyful thoughts, thinking your source mind is pure vibration and completely without resistance, because the resistance happens in the world of the physical. In the world of the vibrational, there's no resistance. This reverberation is just moving around through feeling everything, touching everything, judging nothing, knowing all. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound anything like any concept that we've been told about? Well, so you are a binary self, and this is my inadequate slide that shows the source mind on the left and your specific mind on the right. This is just I was thinking about it in my own mind, and I was seeing the spinning discs of both sides, and knowing that what one was, it knows everything, because it's the Planck field that is interacting with all the other Plancks through this 0 point energy, where all the Plancks are touching each other and jiggling together and creating this cosmic interference pattern that is all the information of all the universe. The universe is holographic in this way. That is how the universe is holographic. It's all of the information is everywhere. The information of the whole is all in the little bitty bits, and all of the little bitty bits are everywhere in the whole. It's the universe is holographic, and Nassim Haramein's mathematics shows how that is and why that is. And I would encourage you to go watch the show Quantum Revolution. It will take you through. I'm going to go back to a different slide. I don't want to rest on this slide. It's a very boring slide. It says it, but then what does it say after that? The one on the right, you can almost imagine that side being spinning, because you can see the aperture, the constricting aperture as it, you can almost imagine that one as the spinning disc I meant it to be, focusing in on a specific point on the grid. And that's what you are. That's what your job is. You are the light on your part of the grid. And it's important that you do that. Light up your section of the world. What's going on? What's the meaning of it? Make some choices. You've got to impulse some actions. So I was telling a story about myself, and let's see whether I can find a way back to telling a story about myself. Is this distracting, my little chameleon? What do I want to have on in the background while I tell my story? Why I am the way I am, and why I am sitting in this studio doing this show. Who am I? Why did I get to that point? What has brought me to this point where I would do such a thing? Well, I was talking about in my 20s, that's the 80s, I discover all kinds of travesties in the world developing that I have no control over whatsoever. There's this $7 billion vivisection industry. Now, there's some people who are doing things like they join the Animal Liberation Front, and they throw themselves on the front lines rescuing animals from labs, and here's the vivisection industry over there going, what do you care more about? These lab animals or the lives of your children? As though it's that kind of a binary choice, which it totally isn't, because the vivisection model, it actually leads you to misdirections. That's not the way to the purpose there is they're a pharmaceutical industry trying to put out more and more and more drugs to make more and more and more money. And they want them to be relatively innocuous so that they will not be sued right and left by people who are harmed and dying, and things like the thalidomide babies. Can you imagine giving birth to a freaking thalidomide baby? And then what that kind of challenge to your heart and your spirit and your purpose and your life, and who did that to you? The people who needed to put out the drugs. Those were the babies that didn't have arms. Their hands just came right out from there. And now you've got this sweet child who has to live their life like that, and you have to find your way too through all of that, through the pain of that, as if regular, beautiful, perfectly formed children aren't hard enough. So anyway, what did that do to me? It made me something of a cynic, in a way. Not really a cynic, but it's like I'm not really buying the group think. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying into it because I don't see that we are on the road to sustainability. And I don't see that any of these major flaws in our systems have been corrected. We're still dependent on big ag instead of life connected. So what should we be doing? Actually, that's not exactly the question I want to answer, because I don't know everything. As a matter of fact, I know that there's a great deal that I don't know. Most of the things I don't know. And I often don't know what to do with my own self. Just like you. If you have, unless you are fortunate enough to have focused enough on something that you liked and something that you wanted without contradicting it in any way, in order to allow a full-throated positive momentum of impulse to develop, and then maybe your passion has taken you away. And so now you are just acting from your passion. If you've made it to that point, oh, God bless you and congratulations. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. Let your passion take you away. But an understanding of why that would be and how that works is going to come from from our discussions today and always. We're going to keep talking about this, and we're going to come to an understanding of how all of that works that way. Why does the momentum of your passion work that way? And if you haven't found your passion, what's your problem? It's probably because you keep laying down a train going this way, and then a train going the other way, and then a train going this way, and then a train going the other way. And you're doing that so objectively. Oh, that's good. Well, that's bad. I like this, don't like that. Ooh, that makes me happy. Oh, yikes, over here. And you do that so objectively that it just keeps you right there in place. You don't let a momentum get going because you keep objectively looking at good and bad, and liked and not liked, and positive and negative, and you don't understand the energies at play. That what you really want to do is to kind of break away from that and allow yourself to focus on a positive long enough for that positive to kind of get a foothold. Get your negative mind to shut up long enough that a positive train can actually get out of the station. Now that's part of what we're talking about. Law of attraction and momentum are the same discussion. Law of attraction, that which is like unto itself is drawn, and you have, and so I don't want to just keep describing I don't want to keep saying the same things every day. And I don't think I do say the same things every day, although I notice that I keep using the same slides every day. And I really need to add some new slides. I did add a new slide yesterday. I got a slide yesterday. I clipped it from one of Nassim's Quantum Revolution episodes. It was the one about the holographic model for the universe. And here I pulled this one. This one is an illustration of how a conventional hologram is made. And what you're looking at is coming out of this a thing up to the upper right, kind of a lightsaber sort of a handle thing, is coming a laser beam. And there's a point at this mirror right here, the first place that this laser beam hits, where that beam is split into two. And one is redirected to a mirror and then onto an apple and then onto another mirror. You see that? And the other one is just directed to a mirror and then to a mirror. And these two beams, they meet back up and they interfere with each other. And through the interference pattern created, all of the information of the apple is scattered across the whole field of this laser. That's a hologram. Now, the analogy to the universe is that all the Plancks, the vacuum fluctuations, these Planck oscillators, these Planck-sized frequencies are all touching each other and jiggling together and reverberating with one another. And that is, first of all, that's what 0 point energy is. It's everything interacting with everything everywhere. It's not the source of everything, isn't a location that's over there and it's sourcing us over here. The source is everywhere because the source is everything interacting with everything everywhere all the time. That's what source energy is. It's this Planck field. And the holographic effect is through this interference pattern, all of the information of everything is exchanging across all the scales. And that's what 0 point energy is. That's what source energy is, and that's what you are. You are this Planck field. All of your elements are made of it. All of your atoms are this. It's all of the Plancks creating all of the atoms. The atom originally was thought to be the primordial element, the building block that everything is built. But it turned out the atom wasn't the building block. An atom actually has trillions of billions of Plancks. I don't know if it's trillions, jillions, skillions of. I have no idea. I think that it might be something on the order of 10 to the 60 or thereabouts Plancks within a single proton. There's a number of Plancks. And it relates to, by the way, this relates to, here we go. This is the one. This is clipped. I screenshot clipped this from the paper, Origin of Mass, Nature of Gravity. And this is showing how the Plancks in the Planck field of a proton relate to all the protons in all of the universe. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? This one shows me how, this one represents how when a Planck oscillator comes across the event horizon of the 0 point energy field into organization on this side as matter, organizing as matter on this side, it's spinning. Spin is baked into the cake. You can't have matter without spin. Matter isn't matter without spin. Spin is primordial. It's fundamental. It's what makes... Spin is actually all you can see. There is nothing happening anywhere around you other than the Planck field spinning into organization around you. That's exactly what you are looking at. Now, near to you, that is not what it looks like to you. You know, as I look at my keyboard and my microphone and my mouse and my desk and, you know, the walls and the lamps and stuff around me, it does not appear that everything is spinning, but it is. We're all spinning together at almost the same rate. Almost the same rate. The almost the same rate is what causes different things to spin out of my experience, and me go spin into something, or out of some, what things are. But there isn't anything in the universe that is doing anything other than spinning. That's what it all is. That's what the motion is. It is original spin. And out of this original spin, we all come. And we are both the source side of us, which is all of us spinning together, and we are our individual side, which is me, my divinely autonomous, individuated spin self. I am also that, and that is actually, that's what I can direct. That is what I have control over, my individuated spin. I have control over that, but it is tethered to this original spin. And how does all of this matter to me? Well, the reason that it matters is because our understanding of this is going to bring us two really, really, really big, powerful payoffs. One is we need to get off fossil fuels, and we can. We could already have. I'm not saying, oh, in the future, if we just keep trying, we'll get there. I'm saying we already could have. We already can. And people are lying to us and hiding this from us. Now, it is not my position to get all up in arms and angry and us and them about it, and let's bring those rascals, those culprity rascals, to justice. Although they need to be stopped, and we need to get on with it. We need to get to our true 21st century iteration, because we haven't made it there yet. We are still beating the dead horse of the 20th century. Is that the right expression to use? We are living in a paradigm left over from the 20th century, and it's been artificially imposed upon us. Incrementally, just little ways, and then as we could have moved off of it, nipped and snipped, and then redirected and sort of encouraged this way and out. What am I saying? Well, you're going to find this in the first movie that I want you to watch, and that is The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And pull out of that anything that you can bring yourself to believe. Believe it. Because some aspect of all of that is absolutely true. These people are not lying. These people are not lying. We have been lied to about whether or not we have to be using fossil fuel. We don't need to be using fossil fuel, and a lot of these devices that could have gotten us off of fossil fuel have been denied to us because of national security orders. And I think that we as a people should be re-examining whether we think that that is a legitimate use of national security orders. Now, I do understand what the problem is. And so we're going to have to put our big boy and big girl pants on and get past this little bit. We need to understand our own psychology so that we can understand how not to get sucked into cults and how not to be ruled by tyrants. Those two things are really important because it's a pattern that we keep replaying. Because we don't understand who we are. Go study some of Paul Levy's work. He's talking about this. When he talks about it, he calls it Wetiko. It's a psychic mind virus that operates through the quantum field. And the result of it is it makes a person think that they can see more clearly than others can, when in actual fact they have developed a blindness in their sight where they can't see all of the rest of the views. They can only see their own view, and they see it so clearly. But then that seeing of their own view so clearly cuts out everybody else's view, and now they're right and everybody else is wrong. And does that sound familiar? You ever see that phenomenon play out? Well, it happens to be a thing that human beings easily fall into. And it's kind of, it could be called, it is misalignment. It is an expression of these two selves represented in this picture, this picture here. The two selves, it's an expression of these two selves not being in alignment, of actually one not knowing that the source self even exists, and then you lock into this other side, regardless of positive, negative, you've locked onto the conditions. You're now being very, very conditional, and when you like it, you get a hit of like. When you don't like it, you get a hit of not like, and you're absolutely locked into the physical world. I think, I'm not sure exactly what how Wetiko exactly functions. I should go back and read his book again, just because I'm always referencing him. I remember reading the book, it wasn't just called Wetiko, it had a subtitle too. I can't remember the name of the book exactly. I should go look at it because I have it, So I went and looked up the actual titles. One is called Dispelling Wetiko. That's the one I've read. And then the other one, I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. And that's Undreaming Wetiko. Because in a real way, we are dreaming our lives into being. And it all has to do with how we are focused, what we are focused on, what we've got our attention on, how it feels, because the feeling is your indication of how well what you are focusing on, how you're thinking about stuff, how it's blending or not blending with the way your inner being sees this. If it's not blending well, then you don't feel very good. You're in negative emotion. The thoughts you are taking are not in alignment with what your source self knows to be true about you and the world. So who are you going to believe? Your vibrational knowing self or your own lying mind? Why did I say that? Why did I say it that way? Are you going to blame? Are you going to believe your physical mind, or are you going to believe your eternal self, vibrationally in touch with all that is real, with all of the atoms and all of the protons and all of the cells and all of the physicality of the true world of action and motion, evolving and moving? That's what your source self has touch with vibrationally through the Planck field, through the quantum field. And that's why you hear so much about this Q word, quantum, quantum, quantum. It's because this divine matrix that we are embedded in, that we are a part of, is really cool. It has tremendous properties. It has, and we are made of that. We are a field phenomenon. You are not just yourself. You actually only have control of just yourself, but you are not just yourself. You are the whole field. You are seamlessly. I remember thinking this a long time ago, imagining our electrons and stuff. I'm sharing atomic particles with with the chair I'm sitting in and the desk I'm sitting at and the floor my feet are touching. I'm sharing quantum particles with everything around me. There is no separation between me and the rest of the world. So I see we've just passed an hour. The show goes for up to as long as 2 hours if I wanted to. It's just past 6 o'clock. I could take this all the way to 7 if I wanted to. It all depends. Every day it depends on whether I feel like what I'm saying is fresh. Is it fresh? Who am I? We need to know this if we want to make it to the 22nd century. And I was feeling a little bit blue yesterday because I went back and I watched the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It Again. And then I felt this tremendous difference between this enormous gap between where I am and where I want to be. And where I am is sitting in this place where all of my people are lost in the 20th century without any notion that the 21st century is standing right in front of us with its arms wide open. What am I saying? We need to get off of fossil fuels. And why are we not already? Because people have been lying to us about whether it's possible. Over unity is possible. It's possible, it's possible, it's possible. If that's the only thing that you get from my show, please take it away with you and think from your own side, what can I do to put this forward, to help us move forward? I don't know what to do to help us move forward. You can feel my agitation. You can feel it in the show. Sometimes I feel so calm and I'm so, everything's working out for us and we're so cool. And everybody just needs to understand how blessed we are and how this freaking quantum field is like a genie in a bottle, like a 3D printer. It can be whatever we want. We just have to focus on what we want. We can't focus on what we've got that we don't want. Well, I'll tell you what we want. I want to get off fossil fuels. Do you know what we've got? We're on fossil fuels. And how do we get from there to there, especially when most people don't even realize that we already can? They're sitting back there waiting for the holy grail of clean fusion. That's the one that's going to save us. And so I don't need to think about it now because the energy experts, they're working on it. And when they finally find it, then they'll just give it to us. And then mankind will just happily and gently move from where we are into our new and bright and glorious future. Do you know what? That's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because it already could have happened. And they're proving right and left that they're not going to let it happen unless we raise our consciousness. We need to know that this is possible. We need to know who we are. We need to have a sense of where we're going, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. What is our purpose? Our purpose is to live. The meaning would be, what we need to be doing is finding our way to sustainability. What is sustainability? Sustainability, that place where we are dancing joyfully with the biofield around us instead of slashing and burning and destroying it in the 6th mass extinction, all caused by human activity. And this human activity is things like lithium mining and stuff like the XL pipeline coming across sacred aquifers down to refineries to put that poisonous vile shit onto barges and send it across heaving seas to international markets, because that's what we have to do to fuel our society. But we don't have to do that because over unity is possible. Do you know what over unity is? Have I even said that this time? If you're a fan of the show, if you're my fan of the show, then you know what over unity is. It's devices that put out more energy than they take to run. And you go, if you're conventionally educated in our in university system, you go, well, that's not possible. It's not possible. Because that means you're just creating energy out of nothing, but you aren't creating energy out of nothing. Because through the 0-point energy field, there is almost freaking unlimited energy everywhere. Infinite energy everywhere. The source of all things is everywhere. And you know, the idea of in a closed system, you know, you can't put out more energy than you put in, because then you're creating energy out of nothing. But there is no such thing as a closed system. Over unity is possible, and our own government has been lying to us and murdering people who come up with these devices, and then snatching their devices and deep sixing them right along with their inventors. And there is over a century of history of this. And we didn't know about this, and we ought to be outraged. First of all, that's the knee-jerk reaction, should be absolute outrage. Feel it to the bottom of your bones. Feel that outrage. And then know that your inner being is not feeling that outrage. And so what is the actual... So first of all, there is no us and them. There's only us. And we can get past this. We don't actually have to go resist the people who are trying to stop. We just need to know that they're not going to cooperate. So anybody who comes up with any more of these devices, quit going to the patent office thinking that they're going to grant you a patent, and then you're going to be able to create your own little empire of billions and billions of dollars. No, you aren't. Because there is already an industry on the planet who is not protecting billions of dollars of enterprise. They are protecting hundreds of trillions of dollars of economic activity. And that is people like the Koch brothers. But it's not just the Koch brothers. It's the whole dang paradigm. And the answer to this is we've got to know better. Our consciousness rising is going to be what's going to fix this. Because we've got to rise to the level that we understand, oh, that's what source energy is. That's who I am. That's how this works. Who am I? We've got to know who we are. And then we can't be fooled. You know? Then we don't have to address them on a material level and force them to... And so I was having this problem yesterday myself because I was feeling very physical. I was feeling like I really needed to do something. I need to do something. What do? I am nobody. It's actually part of my credentials, the fact that I am nobody. Because actually what I'm saying is that each and every one of us is magnificent and has deep, profound, connected, loving, interesting, dazzling, amazing things to add to the picture. But the only way to find what those dazzling, wonderful additions that you have to add to the picture is you got to go plug yourself into your own source. And then from that position, you know, be yourself. Be authentically yourself. That's what the world needs from you. Be yourself. Tell your story. Lean into this. Know who you are. Who you are as source energy. So that we can get off the damn fossil fuel. It's sort of like, you know, back in the olden days, back when we were switching from horses and buggies to automobiles, you know, you didn't really have to go bring the culprits who were, you know, you didn't have to push back against horses and buggies, is what I'm saying. You didn't have to protest them. You didn't have to rail against them. All you had to do, really, is understand the automobile, learn how to build them, and then just go build them. I wish I knew how to make an over unity device, but I've never been that kind of a technical person. I wish I could get my husband excited about something like that, about the possibilities of that. Instead, he still keeps putting part of his considerable intelligence over in the Department of Defense. They still have him working, part-time for the damn 20th century rocket industry. What am I supposed to do with that? Here I am in my really big way saying, who am I? Who are we? We are so amazing. We are so special. We are the Planck field. And yet, me in my small way, I'm like, I don't know what the F to do with this. because I'm so far ahead of myself. I can see the future. But I want the future now. I want to be off fossil fuel now. It is time for us now to understand that we can get off this crap. That we can hit sustainability, that we can connect to the biofield and the information field of the whole field around us. Did you know that? So all of this abstract stuff that I talk about, I want you to know that I see a place where my philosophical self and the literal physical description of source and reality, physical reality around me, where they come together. They absolutely come together. And it's like the layers of meditation as you integrate yourself, as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the center of the center of the center of the center of your own spin. As you find your own center, as you line those two spinning discs that you are, line them up with one another and find the center of the center. All of this is very literal. I mean, it sounds like it's a metaphor or an analogy to something, but I mean it really literally. I think that your source self is your foundational spin. And I think that your individual self, is your individual spin. And the object of the exercise is to line the centers of those two things up into the same place. And when you do, you are in alignment with yourself. You are in alignment with the field around you. You are in harmony and synergy and symphonic resonant whatever with the field around you. And now you are a benefit to the abundance of the field. You are not depleting, you are not contradicting, you are not crossing, you are not in conflict with the world around you. And that's why human beings need to understand this structure, and each individual has to line themselves up. And then from that position, take your impulses from source. Take your impulses. Just, what does that mean? Just do what feels good from an aligned position. Take your impulses. Move with your desire. Your desire will start to be that we all get, because we all do better when we all do better. And when you're in alignment with yourself, with your greater self, you know that. And now the win-win position looks way better to you than the win-lose position that you were in from your place of misalignment. Do you see how this works? Do you see how this works? And I have a great quote too. I'm gonna share this one with you. Nassim said this one once, and I liked the way he said it so well that I wrote it down. And I'm going to. I do have various quotes and things that I add from other people. This is not just me. As a matter of fact, what I really do. I'm a synthesizer. That's actually my. I'm looking through all my notes. It has to do with when you integrate yourself. Here it is. When you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. So imagine this as you're meditating and you're getting deeper and deeper into the layers of yourself, into the center of your own self. When you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy, and when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the whole universe. And that's how you become a being that is in alignment with the field around you. And if we could all learn to do that, then the field of humanity would be in alignment with the morphogenetic field of the biofield of the planet around us. We would be in sync. We would be in a win-win-win-win-win-win position, as opposed to a win-lose. And frankly, a win-lose with humanity, if the biofield loses, humanity loses. And so that win-lose is actually a lose-lose. And I don't want to be part of that anymore. I'm sick to death of hearing the bad news. I don't want to hear it. I don't want it to be happening. And largely, the huge destructive footprint that humanity, there's two things that cause this huge footprint of destruction upon the planet caused by humanity. The two things that cause it are both coming from us not knowing who we are. One is the use of fossil fuel, and the other is not understanding our own psychology. And the wars and stuff that we perpetrate upon one another, those are... World War II was way more destructive than just to humanity. We blew the shit out of a lot of beautiful places upon the planet. And some of them are still toxic. Places in the Pacific, that have never been adequately cleaned up. Places, things that we sunk into the ocean, and just terrible, 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 terrible. And we don't want to do that anymore. We do not want to do that anymore, and yet still we do. And why do we do that? Because we don't know who we are. What are we going to do about that? Well, I myself am going to attempt to... Well, I do my show, and I do need to make some changes to the show. I need some more, I need some fresh new slides. I need, what else do I need to do? We're going to start putting a description in the description place. We're not going to put the playlist, and I need to learn how to embed your ability to click on links to my show. I need to figure out how to do that so that you can link up with the things I want you to watch. The Lost Universe. No. The Lost Century. Excuse, not the Lost Universe. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And The Connected Universe. And Quantum Revolution. And The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. And Living in the Future's Past. Now that one I put in there because it shows that we are indeed a superorganism. Just know that we are. We really are. And so we need to get our whole systems into alignment. And we wouldn't have to do it consciously. We could just, do it naturally, lean into our desires, focus on your desires, keep moving that direction. It can be done that way. But we've got a big problem right at the moment because of the fossil fuel thing. It's gumming up the works. And we need to consciously kind of turn towards who we are and do some intentional moving that direction because I think that human beings are gentle creatures. However, their psyche is very fragile. And a traumatized psyche has a tendency to get out of alignment, has a tendency to focus on the conditions of darkness and hold it right there, become conditional, when you are conditional instead of vibrational, that's when you lose touch with your inner being, who is vibrational. And when you lock on to the condition that you don't like, instead of homing in on the vibration of what it is you want, see, I think that the human mechanism is not as it bears some instruction. Because we've been genetically modified, I think we need a user's manual to help us understand how to operate. Had we incrementally developed who we are over eons of time, naturally, without any monkey business, then I think we would more thoroughly understand how to be. We would have been vetted with the universe. We wouldn't even be here if it hadn't worked out. But somebody genetically modified us, and now we have both a powerful capability that turns into this tremendous detriment if we don't understand it. If you don't understand who you are, then it is best for you to disengage your physical mind and operate only on your feelings, the way the animals do. If you're going to engage your mind, then it would be best if it was in alignment with what your inner being knows to be true about the situation. So get into alignment. What does that mean? Care how you feel. Because when you're not in alignment, it feels bad. It feels like negative emotion. So don't be willing to just put up with that negative emotion just because that condition out there warrants it. So this is what I was experiencing yesterday. I had a big bout of negative emotion about the reality of the fact that we are still using fossil fuels and we don't need to. We should be on over Unity devices right now, incrementally trying to find, as a matter of fact, somebody came up with a little solid state device that plugs directly into source energy. Guess what our patent office did, or whoever it was in our government? Deep Sixed the damn thing and destroyed the person who invented it. And who knows? So that's been invented before, and gosh, I wish I knew where that was, because that's the future. That's the future. Every piece of technology comes with its own outlet to source, you could say. It has its own power source in the device, because it doesn't have to carry the device, this power around. It can just plug you into the power from wherever it is, because the power is everywhere. Anyway, I got into a little bit of a funk yesterday as I was feeling this tremendous gap between where we are and where I'd like us to be. And I was not necessarily feeling how I was moving towards that. I was just feeling how really disconnected I was feeling from that. Because nobody around me, physically around me, is part of this same project. I only have constant contact, or even intermittently constant contact, with just a few people. I don't have a wide range of connection to my world. I have my daughters, I have my husband, occasionally I have my sisters and my brother, but they will attest how infrequent that is. So, you know, if that's what I'm pointing at as my main relationships, they're going to go, wow, you don't see anybody, do you? And no, I don't. No, I don't. I think my own thoughts. I spend a lot of time playing Bubble Mouse, and, you know, this show is a really big part of the impulse of my life. But I don't feel like I share it with anybody around me. Nobody around me. Actually, there's only one person that's around me most of the time, and that's my husband. And like I said, he still kind of works for the frickin' Department of Defense. You know, he's not watching this show. He's not going, wow, we really should be off fossil fuels. He's not feeling it because he doesn't have any momentum going that way. As a matter of fact, he's got 45 years of conventional momentum, believing all of the paradigm that we have been handed that's actually an artificial paradigm. We shouldn't be Department of Defensing all over our neighbors. We should be in the throes of absolute playful, joyful abundance right now. And why aren't we? Well, I think it's because we don't know ourselves. Because knowing ourselves, they couldn't have hidden what they have hidden from us if we knew who we were. And so that's why I do my show. I think we need to know who we are in order so that we can get off fossil fuels, so that we can quit killing the planet, so that we can achieve sustainability, so that we can pull our systems into alignment, our systems that we use as our mega self. Because we are a mega self. We are a super being, a super organism upon planet Earth with a circulatory system. And that circulation, the circulation system is the circulation of goods and services on the human supply chain. There are foodstuffs, technologies, energies, and services. All that kind of stuff. Healthcare services, and there's all kinds of things on the human supply chain. And each and every one of us has to monetize. We have to come up with some kind of currency that we can use so that we can trade into that. Whether we grow the best strawberries, or we make the best peach pie, or maybe we know how to heal you through our Reiki hands, or maybe what we can do is we can landscape your yard, or maybe what is it that I can do that I can monetize? Well, these days there's some interesting new choices, what with the internet. If you can get 1 million eyes turn your direction, that's worth money. The reason that's worth money is because the actual currency of the actual consciousness of the universe is attention and focus. So no wonder when you can get someone to focus on you and give you their attention, why that is worth money. It's what your kids want from you. It's what the entertainment industry is all about getting you to turn your eyes to them. Everything from actors and actresses and radio and the internet, YouTube, even this. Although I haven't gotten very many eyes in here. My whole thing has not been about getting the eyes and slicking the presentation, although my presentation could use a little marketing slick, it's true. I'm getting to the point where I feel like I know what I'm saying, and now I need an interactive board to say it on. I need ears to hear me, and I need them to respond back, echoing back whether I'm resonating or whether I'm not resonating. Am I helping? Are you understanding anything more about yourself after having listened to my diatribe? Is it a diatribe? I don't know if it's a diatribe. Maybe it's not supposed to be. So who am I? Who am I, and how does this work? What am I doing here? What's the meaning of my life? What am I responsible for? I am part of a bigger picture, but I am whole right where I am. And so how does that play? I'm only responsible for myself, actually, but when I line myself up to the true self that I am, I find that I am only happy when the rest of the world is dancing joyfully with me. That's what's fun. Not being the one rich person in an impoverished neighborhood. Who wants to do that? I don't want to live in a win-lose paradigm. There's reasons for that. There's reasons why we do better when we all do better. There's lots of reasons. There's a lot of reasons within human beings why we feel better when the human beings around us feel better. Not only because we are completely interdependent upon the human field around us. I don't know how to raise enough food to sustain myself and my family. I don't know how to do that. And produce the energy that I need to control the climate that I need to, because it's really cold around here in the winter and really hot around here in the summer. So I need some climate control. I don't know how to produce the energy to give me that. And then what else do I need? I don't know how to build the technologies that I use. I can't build the computer that I'm using right now to make this show. None of this. I am dependent upon the human supply chain, and you likely are too. And you likely are contributing in the production of something around you. Whether it's entertainment, or whether it's information, or whether it's a hard good. Are you building something in a factory, in a laboratory, and are you doing that? Or are you growing something in a field outside? Or are you putting your head to different challenges of humanity and trying to feed that back into the system to help us all? That's what I'm trying to do. We all have a piece of this. Each and every one of us is an important part of the puzzle. Find your way, and we will all get there together. We're all in this together. Did you know that? We've got to play it that way. We are all in this together. Just play it that way in your heart. That's good enough. It will eventually, something about that will come out in your actions. Now, it comes out in different ways. Some people, they want to be there on the front bleeding lines, putting bandages on cuts and, physically helping physical people in their physical problems. Some people, they're good at that, and they're called to do that, and their impulses just jump to life from that kind of scenario. If that's you, go do it. If you are more of a dreamer, visionary, you want to just sit somewhere and ponder the nature of things and your place in the universe, and then act from that, whatever that is. If you're a poet or an author or whatever you are, go be it. Don't ask permission and don't say sorry. Just be it from your whole heart. So now, where are we? I mean, who are we? Who am I? Where are we in the show? We're an hour and 37 minutes in, and we've said a lot of things. We haven't said everything. I bring up the cymatics thing. This is one of those things that feels like I just keep saying the same thing. The only reason I bring this up is because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and this illustrates that. And it illustrates how many different frequencies there are. It's jillions of frequencies. So these are cymatic patterns. They're digital ones made by a digital device that you put up different frequencies, and then it'll show you a visual representation of that pattern. So digitally, that's what this is. This is other kinds of cymatic patterns, and this is why every snowflake is different, because as that crystal is forming out there in the sky, there are frequencies all around it, all kinds of different frequencies, all kinds of everywhere, and every snowflake is going to develop on a different frequency, and that's why every single one of them is a little bit different. Isn't that interesting? A snowflake is a cymatic pattern. Cymatics being the study of the relationship between vibration and form. That's why I bring this up, just because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And you have two aspects to yourself. Your physical aspect, that's your physical form, the one you're familiar with your physical mind and your physical brain, all the stuff that you're familiar with. But you have another aspect of you. and it's tethered to you. You are tethered to it. I don't know how to say that best. But that vibrational aspect, so you have your physical aspect and then you have your vibrational aspect. It's the one that is just loosely, without resistance, reverberating with the whole universe. And the reason it's there, the reason you have it, is because the universe is holographic. That's how it's possible. And this is how come I harp on this, because for myself, my recognition that the mathematics underpins this, that it is mathematically demonstratable that the universe is holographic. It makes me understand how I could have an aspect of myself that is literally in touch with the whole rest of the universe. Because it doesn't have to go anywhere to be in touch with the whole rest of the universe. It's all right here. The whole universe is right here with me, holographically represented. You know where it is? It's in the Planck field of every proton, which every proton happens to be a black hole. Did you know that? Ah, boy, I didn't really do it. So this I'm going to show you real quick. These are screenshots that I captured from the video, that 37-minute video of the origin of mass and nature of gravity. Now, since I'm not going to put the link into this description of this video today, you can either go into yesterday's or the day before's or whatever. You can find it there and click on the link from there, or you can just put these words into YouTube, the origin of mass and nature of gravity video, and this will come up. So anyway, I've screenshot captured a bunch of the diagrams that are in there, all of the mathematics that's in there. Now, I'm not a mathematician, although at one point in college, I hadn't made it through. It was when I was taking Calculus 2. I didn't even ever take differential equations or anything. I did take a class in theoretical proofs, in how to do proofs, how to prove things mathematically. God, that was a miserable class. I did get a B in that class, I believe. So I didn't do too bad. But let me keep going. So if, there you go. I was on this one. Yeah, if every proton is a black hole, then every proton, they're going to obey Hawking radiation, which is a thing that happens to black holes. A little particle, a little positive, negative gets thrown off, a positive particle gets thrown off, a negative particle gets absorbed, and the black hole shrinks a little bit. It will evaporate eventually. A black hole is not a forever thing. It is something that eventually will evaporate. And how long is it going to take that proton to evaporate? Well, you don't have to worry about it. It's approximately 10 to the 35 billion years. And that's a long time, because we haven't even made it to 10 to the 2 billion years. 10 to the 2 is 100 billion. 10 to the 3 is 1,000 billion. 10 to the 4 is 10,000 billion. You see how that goes? 10 to the 35 is a long time. Anyway, and then we have Hawking radiation at the hadronic scale from the proton core of that black hole. All of the mathematics is in this video. I've just screenshot captured some 30 slides, 30 illustrations of what's in there. If you happen to be a mathematician or a physicist, please go look at this. And if you aren't, as a lay person, you can still have a sense of the mathematics has been done. The mathematics is there, and as such, it is a blueprint for the technology that will follow. That's what I'm looking for. Here's back to that. I showed this one earlier. Emergence of matter. Here, there's the Planck units. That's a Planck unit. A Planck is billions of times smaller than an atom. How many Plancks are contained in a proton? Well, if you made those Plancks the size of a grain of sand, then that proton would be from our sun to Alpha Centauri. Make it a sphere. That's the diameter. Make it a sphere. Fill it with sand. That's how many Plancks you got going on in a proton. And all of those Plancks in that proton, all in the Planck field of every proton, is represented all of the protons in all the rest of the universe. The mathematics shows this. And the mathematics is the interesting part. And I like to harp on this part of it because it's sort of like how mathematically there is a foundation for me to believe in God. You know, to believe that this universe is connected. To believe that it's holographic, and if I have the all of the information of the universe, then all of the universe has the information of me. I'm known. And I count. And I matter. And you do too. That's what this tells me. That's why I keep harping on it. Not because I'm such a nerdlinger. Oh. Do I want to go through any more of these? This is from the paper. The paper itself, which is not on YouTube. The video explaining the paper's on YouTube. The rest of it is on, let's see, where is it? It's this paper. It's this paper right here. So go find this paper. The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. And this is the full abstract of that paper. This is telling us where matter comes from, how it comes into being. And don't you know that this full mathematical physics understanding is going to bring us to being able to create material goods directly out of the vacuum. Use it like a 3D printer. Use its properties and how it functions to pull objects directly out of the quantum field. That's what the replicators on the Star Trek ships are doing. Did you know that? That's what they're doing. It can be done. We can do it. But we can't do it if we keep being told this bullshit about 20th century technology that we keep believing. For instance, that over Unity devices are not possible. That's a basic, people. It's a basic. Over Unity is possible, and we can get off fossil fuel. And if we would do that, we would go so far towards creating sustainability. We wouldn't be worried about carbon footprints, and the 100% recycling of everything would be possible, because it's only the energy that's missing. The technology is not missing. The understanding of these things is not missing. We can resequester carbon. We don't have to worry about we don't even have to worry about the carbon we put into the atmosphere so far. We just need to quit putting more of it in. We need to get off fossil fuels. We can resequester anything we need to. That just takes energy. And it doesn't make sense to use energy that is so foul and dirty energy to resequester carbon. It's one step forward, two steps back. It doesn't make sense to do it that way. But once we plug into source energy, once we have once we're using over Unity devices to fuel our technologies, then we can use them. We can desalinate ocean water. We can rebloom the desert. When energy is no longer a significant cost, then everything becomes possible. And I know that part of that is what our national security is worried about, because we are murderous beings right now who do not know who we are and do not know how we are connected to one another and the field, and that what I do affects you and what you do affects me. And so if you set all of us loose with unlimited free clean energy, what's going to happen? Are you going to have some of them going off into the bushes and plotting to take over the world, with their bombs and their destructive whatever? Because although they may understand, ooh, I've got this device that gives me free clean energy, their consciousness is no more developed than, from last century when we blew up 200 million people. We murdered 200 million people last century through wars and who am I? I think it's a legitimate question. And I'm coming up on an hour and 50 minutes. That would be long enough if I decide that I'm done. I think maybe later today I'm going to work on some I need to work on this. I need to work on my YouTube technology savvy so that I can put a proper description in the description and embed the videos I want you to watch somewhere else. Look forward to that in the near future. Whoever you are, my new fans, my old fan, I don't know who you are, my old fan, but you watch me every day. You give me a thumbs up every day. I want you to know there have been times when I have thought to myself, what the F am I doing? And I've wanted to stop. And yet here you are. You stay with me and I love you so much. I don't know who you are. I hope you're a nice person because I really do love you. I really do love you. Whether you're a nice person or not, I'm very grateful that you exist. And so maybe someday I'll figure out who you are. And we'll get more and more and more people in the room, and maybe we'll start a movement, a gentle movement. It's such a gentle movement. It's not one where we're all going to get together and we're going to meet and we're going to get mad about what's been happening and we're going to go off and we're going to act out of our mad. I don't want to do that. As a matter of fact, that's the problem. You can get me going by outraging me. But then my outrage subsides, and you really don't want to work from your outrage anyway. You want to operate somehow from your positive self, from yourself that sees the possibilities of a future that will be better than the one that we've got, the one where we're drowning polar bears and orphaning elephants. I don't like to see the way the Koreans treat their dogs before they eat them either. My God, is that a shit show. That is responsible for the worst day I've ever had in my life. I cried for more hours straight when I faced that one. Oh my God. I thought I was going to die. We need to make this a kinder world. We need to make this a better world. We need to have more compassion for the individuals who have to make their way in this. We're in this collective space. We're in a collective space. That's true. But each and every one of us has to walk this path alone. You have to call your own way. You have to find your own way. And wouldn't it help if you knew who you were? So, with that, I think I'm going to leave us for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Absolutely. I will be back again and again and again. And we're really going to get somewhere with this. And someday we're going to have more and more people aware of this growing understanding of who we really are as the quantum field. We are the whole universe. Divinely individuated into these human bodies. And we need to understand how to operate them. So, I don't have a satisfying sign-off. That's what my problem is. I get to the point where I'm like, I'm getting ready to end, and now I don't really satisfyingly know how to sign this off. I want you to know how deeply grateful I am for this opportunity to speak my peace, without contradiction, without interruption. No one is contradicting me or interrupting me, and I am very grateful for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to being able to do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, until we really get somewhere. And with that, I wish you well. I bid you peace. I hope I see you tomorrow. And until then, please let that source be with you.